We sat in the escape pod for what seemed ages, trying to steady our breathing and listening for any signs of anything. An escape pod has one primary purpose: to allow crew or passengers to escape a ship. We couldn't tell what was happening aboard the freighter, so we continued to wait. Suddenly, we heard a loud explosion. It sounded like the freighter was being destroyed. Next, we heard a whoosh sound as the escape pod we were in jettisoned out into space. I learned later that it was part of Ori safety protocols. In the event of a core explosion, all occupied escape pods launch. Another stroke of fortune happened that wasn't clear then. Our escape pod launched on the far side of the freighter. We hurtled into space, hidden by the exploding freighter. The pirates on the other side missed our escape, with their sensors temporarily blinded in the explosion. Neither of us were in a state to appreciate it. It's quite traumatic to be spat into the void. In a small capsule, we waited expecting to be blasted at any moment. Pirates didn't leave witnesses. Like I said earlier, an escape pod doesn't have many windows. We couldn't see what was happening. The pirates had plundered all they wanted from used to be our home. They moved their vessels back and fired their weapons at the freighter, triggering the last explosion. We didn't see the pirates again. Somehow we'd slipped away, and we didn't know if anyone else had escaped. We were in a remote area of space, and probably no better off than our likely deceased crewmates. The escape pod was quite small, with 2 seats surrounded by storage hatches. In front was a small control panel. We had no room to stand and no artificial gravity. The pod was likely spinning as it traveled through space, so standing up made little sense. The legroom was okay, since they built it for Ori, who were taller than me. Much later, I experimented with the control panel and brought up a view of the outside. It was black, no surprise. I soon turned it off to save power. Time passed slowly. Long after we left the freighter, the stress and adrenaline wore off. We both fell asleep. We slept for a long time in the escape pod as it traveled along silently through space. The pirates were far behind us now. When I next awoke, I turned and saw Kaluna looking at me. She still looked disturbed, judging by her facial expression. I sat up and turned to the control panel. I studied the readings, which were in Ori. It had been about 2 days since the explosion. Where did the time go? We were in deep space and far from anywhere. I saw the emergency distress beacon wasn't active, and so I activated it. The pirates might detect our beacon and come after us, but I figured the risk was low. They already got what they wanted, and a distress call would guarantee nothing of value. To not activate it would guarantee no vessel would find us. After I activated the beacon, I sat back. Kaluna spoke for the first time since we left the freighter. The air recycling is working. We've food rations that should last a while, and we don't have a change of clothing. We might smell a bit in a few days, but we'll survive. I should be careful what I eat, I said. As I am different, the Ori rations may not be compatible. So what now? Kaluna took my hand in hers and stared into my eyes. She said, "The rations will be fine. Brian, I thank you for saving my life. I process the events that happened, at least from my perspective. I don't think I would be alive if you hadn't brought me with you. In Ori culture, you and I have what we call a life debt. That means I owe you my life." She focused her laser-like attention on me, and that made me feel strange. I blushed. "You don't owe me anything, Kaluna. I didn't do that much. It was crazy, and I was acting on instinct. I missed the training on what to do when attacked by pirates. I don't even know if such training exists. If the training exists, it clearly didn't help the others," I said. I was babbling, but I couldn't help it. When crammed into a small escape pod, there's no separation. You can't look away easily. It felt more intimate than I had ever experienced. At least there I had my cabin to retreat to. I don't recall training on pirates, and if there was, I never took it either. When I signed up, I didn't think about pirates. They don't mention it in their recruiting videos. I thought the only excitement would be in negotiating purchases of cargo. In the smoke, I lost track of where I was. I would have died there. But then you came along and pulled me into this pod. Your arguing does not change the fact I still owe you a life debt. I don't feel like I did anything. I feel bad that I didn't do more to save others, I said. My hand felt warm in hers. Tians rarely hold hands, so it was infinitely more noticeable to me. A lot of good Ori citizens died a meaningless death back there. she said sadly. Yes, I miss Captain Jago especially. He was very kind to me. I understand now that such kindness is normal for Ori culture. But I grew up on Tien Prime, and Tiens keep their distance. He was the first to treat me with kindness. Kaluna was still holding my hand, but she didn't let it go. In fact, she held on firmly and held my eye contact for a few moments while she continued to study my face. I felt awkward, unsure where to look. Tians don't stare at your face like that. I agree that most Tians aren't very warm, no offense meant. We Ori aren't so reserved as Tians, as you have learned. She paused. But you're not like any Tian I have known. It's a long story. She smiled at me. Her face was inches away from me. I'm pretty sure we have time. She might be the last being I would spend time with, so I pushed aside my usual reserved nature and shared with her. My species isn't Tian. I am a human. Humans are a primitive, non-space-faring race. About 20 cycles ago, Tian scientists took my mother from her home planet as a specimen for study. They missed the fact that she was pregnant with me. I was born on Tien Prime, and thus I am a Tien by birth. I am the only non-Tien with Tien citizenship. My mother died about 4 cycles ago, leaving me the only human on Tien Prime. After she died, I lived in an orphanage. After I reached the age of maturity, I applied for work aboard the Opaluna. The authorities didn't like the idea of me leaving the planet, but I had help from the Ori ambassador and, of course, Captain Jago. I believe I'm the only spacefaring being of my species. I am also the first from Tien Prime to have served aboard an Ori vessel. Wow, that's amazing. And you have never seen your homeworld? Asked Kaluna. Her eyes were wide and her facial expressions captivated me. I was still not that experienced with Ori and their showing of emotions. Tiens never show emotions. My homeworld is Tien Prime. I saw it every day. My mother came from a planet she called Earth. I don't know even where it is, and I don't care. It's not my homeworld. I didn't come from there, and I wouldn't fit in. They'd be primitive to me, and I'd be alien to them. I see no reason to go there. I have no connections there. It sounds like you have lived a rather lonely life. Perhaps. By Ori standards, certainly. Tians are quite distant. Being different, it distanced me even further from other Tians. They'd be curious when they first met me, but most beings keep with their own. I got plenty of time to myself. Did you make any friends growing up? No, I interacted with my fellow students. I worked on projects with others, learning to behave as reserved as any Tien. The first real friends I experienced, that you would classify as friends, were aboard the Opaluna. As I was new to the freighter, I just began developing friendships. The captain gave me an assignment to reach out and connect with the crew socially. I had to unlearn my Tian nature. It's difficult. Well, you can continue your assignment here with me. I can't go anywhere. Kaluna smiled. I smiled back. I felt a bit out of my depth. My mother was the only other human I have ever known. I learned from her that humans were far less reserved with their emotions. But she was a poor example. I think her emotions led to mental health issues and caused her untimely demise. As I grew up, I followed the Tien culture to fit in and because it seemed more healthy. Kaluna's eyes looked sad now. Not all emotions are unpleasant. Your mother had a hard life, which caused of her suffering. Bad things happen, just like the pirates happened to us. Perhaps time to change the topic? I didn't feel like a debate. Would you tell me something about yourself? If it's okay to ask, I asked. It's okay to ask, Brion. I will answer all questions you ask. I grew up in the Ori Confederation, which includes several planets, and I have lived on 2 different ones. My parents moved at one point because of their careers. I joined the Ori Merchant Guild, and I trained in purchasing, an important part of any business. My recent assignment was to the Opaluna. What were your plans, at least before the pirates came along? I was saving up to one day open my own business. I enjoy trade and could see myself doing well, although my plans look like they're on hold now. Kaluna smiled wistfully. On hold perhaps, but not canceled yet. While we live, there's still hope. Where did I get that? I don't know how often vessels travel this whistle, but it only takes one to save us, I offered while looking into her eyes. It seemed that eye contact was an important part of Ori communication that was missing to Tiens. My thinking was it could add emphasis or verify I received the message or something like that. I later learned there was more to eye contact, but for now, I knew I didn't want her to lose hope. I can't stand feeling so helpless, waiting to be rescued, not knowing what'll happen next. The feeling of helplessness I felt was similar, but I didn't think it would help to add to the stress Kaluna was experiencing. My initial reaction as a teen was to keep my feelings to myself, but I could tell that I needed to respond to her. "Sorry, I should not have asked about your plans. I didn't intend to upset you," I said. I felt awkward. "No, you're doing fine, Brian. Come closer." She opened her arms to me as I shuffled closer, and she hugged me. Not since I was very young was I hugged by anyone. This wasn't like the hugs I recall from my mother. Kaluna felt warm and soft. It felt nice. She wrapped me in her arms, and I let the feeling sink in. "This is nice, I said. I put an arm around her. The escape pod seemed to encourage close contact. Perhaps the Ori designer intended snuggling up to deal with the prolonged travel in here. Time passed. I think I slept for a while and I woke still in her arms. She leaned down and kissed me gently on the lips. I tried my best to kiss her back. We kissed for a while. That was new for me. Tiens don't do that, I said. "Was it nice?" She asked. "Very. I think I recall my mother would kiss me on the top of my head when I was very young. Yes, that's more emotional contact, the sort that Tiens avoid." She smiled. "I am glad to be here with you, Kaluna." I think I was feeling lightheaded. "Me too." More smiles. I felt dizzy as it was a while since I last ate. With all the recent excitement and without the timekeeping and duty shifts aboard a space vessel, meals slipped through our thoughts. As soon as I mentioned it, Kaluna handed me water and rations to try. I drank the water and ate sparingly of the Ori rations. Kaluna made sure I ate first before she took some for herself. I soon felt better. We were still holding each other close, and Kaluna seemed captivated by my presence. She looked at me and smiled, and she was pleasing on the eyes herself. We kissed and spent time just gazing into each other's eyes. I felt good. Would we have connected like this if the pirates hadn't attacked? I'd gladly trade all the good feelings to have the pirates not attack us and have the Opalu Na intact and the crew alive. Thinking about our lost crewmates made me feel guilty that we were alive and cozy, and they were not. "Hey, what's happened? Your face went from happy to sad really fast," Kaluna asked. "I remembered our crewmates," I said. She hugged me tighter. I leaned my head on her shoulder. She was taller, and soon I drifted off to sleep.